Hey everyone, welcome back to this week's podcast. And man, I blasted that out. Poor little audio guy is going to be shaking his head because I just spoke too loud. So we like to do that. We got to keep them on their toes. They don't need coffee. We just have to go boom.
Yeah,
and then they're all
give it to them.
Yes, exactly.
Yep, peak that.
Yep. Okay. Well, what are we talking about today?
Today we're going to talk about something we actually have a document for. Okay, so I want to preface this.
Don't we have a document for pretty much everything?
We do. We have basically.
So why is this a...
It's funny. This one we actually have two documents for.
Okay.
We're talking about how to build a fact finder. Now, if you're in the academy already, you already have access to the exact fact finder that Chad uses in his appointments. If you're not in the academy...
So why would you pick anything else and try and reinvent the wheel again? I mean, come on. Just become part of the academy, and then you don't need to worry about building your own.
But for those of you that are podcast listeners exclusively, we figured, you know what, we do have a document that explains how an agent can build their own fact finder.
And if you're part of the academy, it's included.
You get it included. It's true. But we've got a document on theannuitysalescoach.com that you can go and download, and it literally explains to you step by step how to build a fact finder. And what I want to do today is give them just the audio version of that document. In essence, how to build a fact finder. So Chad, walk us through. I mean, you built your fact finder.
Well, building.
Well, it's ever evolving, right? We call it the ever evolving.
There's never, I mean, if this was a building, and it looked like a building, I'd be tearing floors down and ripping out new pieces, putting news back in. I mean, it looked totally modular.
Yeah. Always something to add or take out.
All the time. Well, because a lot of it actually has to do with market conditions.
It does.
So, and the way you ask questions. I mean, to me, and I'll give you a freebie. I mean, I have a question that I just started what was that?
Freebie.
See, we don't need little push buttons.
No, we don't. I'll be the sound guy.
Okay. But it's, people would always ask, so what's your risk tolerance? Or they'd say on a scale 1 to 10, 1 being you don't want to lose any of your money, 10 you're willing to lose everything. I just say, are you willing to lose all of your money, some of your money, or none of your money?
Right.
It always gets a chuckle.
Right.
Well, it sounds like I don't want to lose any of my money. Well, okay, then why are you in stocks, bonds, and mutual funds? If you said you don't want to lose anything, you know those all have a potential to lose. I never really thought of that.
Yeah. It's like a light bulb moment.
It is a light bulb moment.
Yeah. Well, and I like it. It's not a manipulative question, but it does.
How could that even be? I do want to lose all your money, some of your money, and none of your money. How is that ever? It's not a manipulative question.
No, I know. But I know a lot of agents, because if an agent gets in the mindset.
Let's see where you're going with this one.
If an agent gets in the mindset of I'm just trying to get a sale, then it becomes sales tactics.
Fair enough.
And a lot of times sales tactics have to do, at least in part, with some level of manipulation. Right, but if you're truly out for what's best for them,
that's why
then
you're a solution person, not a salesperson.
Yep.
Yes. Okay.
So it all comes full circle. But first thing, obviously, Chad, and I would imagine you'd agree to this, is you got to figure out. I don't know. You're starting
to say some things so far that I'm not sure about.
You've got to figure out what line of business you're even doing it. Right now,
for sure.
Yeah, and a lot of agents they spread out. They'll do AUM, they'll do annuities, they'll do life, they'll do Medicare, final expense, right? They'll do all these different things, and you can build fact finders that kind of help you cross sell. And we actually have one of those too in the
if you're part of the academy.
In the academy, you can get in there and you can get the life insurance fact finder that helps you cross sell into an annuity if it's the right fit for your client, etc. So you can build these in a way that kind of are a little bit more encompassing than just one line. But that's the first thing. You need to know what type of product you're trying to position, and then what you need to know to figure out what is going to be best.
I want to add to that too, because there's a lot of times people use like Social Security seminars, and the only reason they're asking about Social Security is so they can find out where the annuity is. Yeah, that bait and switch is what drives clients nuts, and I hear it all the time.
Sure.
If your annuities going for annuities, if they need help in other areas, then fine.
Right.
If you're talking about Social Security, help them with Social Security. If you find something else, fine. But make sure why they called you do it.
Right.
If they want life insurance, then make sure you're talking about life insurance. Yep. If you can get an annuity, then obviously if you see that problem.
Right.
And you have a solution to then help them, but don't go in there with a life insurance lead only going after the annuity. And that's what I see, unfortunately, with the Social Security leads or the Medicare leads, is they're not even really going to help with the Social Security or the Medicare. They're just going in straight for the annuity. And I'm like, no, go in there for the primary purpose first, and then through the process of the fact finder, find out if there's other areas you can help them.
Yep. That's exactly right. And that's what the fact finder does. And so when you're building that, again, you've got to know, what are you trying to help them with? Is it their Medicare? Is it their life insurance? Is it their assets? Is it, whatever it may be? Is it an annuity? Are they, is that what they're wanting? Is that what they're looking for? And sometimes you'll come across people, I would imagine, you don't do any life insurance leads specifically. You don't get Medicare leads. All your stuff is annuity specific from the start. But when you were doing that, because your background was actually in mortgage protection, right?
Oh,
and
man,
final
I wrote
expense.
the last year. So let's see, I started in 2004. So 2004, 5, 6. So 2006, 2007 is when I started getting into the annuity business heavy. So 2007, I wrote 5.9 million of annuities off of life insurance leads.
I thought it was 2008.
No, 2008 is when I started getting officially.
Okay.
That's why I say I wrote this amount of volume since 2008.
Got you.
Because that's when I really focused on just annuities.
Got you.
Yeah, I think I probably wrote about 10 million, 10 or 11 million in annuities my first 4 years just off of life insurance leads. And then 2008 is when I really hit the annuity business. And I don't recall any more life insurance leads from 2008 on.
Right. Well, and again, going back into those life insurance appointments that you did end up cross-selling an annuity, is because you were able to figure out what is a problem here and how can I solve that problem for
Absolutely.
them. That's what it's all about. But you have to address the first concern.
Back in those days, I used to be able to do an annuity and life insurance in an hour.
Right.
And move on to my next appointment, because annuities back then, they didn't have a whole bunch of the income riders and all the different indices, and now they have a lot more indices, a lot more options. So, I mean, I usually have about an hour. My minimum appointment is 45 minutes. I can explain everything in 20, 25 minutes.
Really has to do with questions.
But yeah, once I'm going over questions, it's pretty normal. They're an hour and a half long.
Yeah. Okay. Well, and with the fact finder then, now that you've determined what line of business you're working, you've got to figure out, what do you need to know about this client and their situation to figure out what product in that line of business is going to be best.
Sure.
The fact finder is not so much a sales tool, I guess, as it is.
It's a problem finding tool.
Yeah.
It's not a sales tool. It's a problem finding tool.
It figures out where's the hole here and how are we going to patch it. The beauty of the fact finder, though, too, is if you build a fact finder the right way, not only does it find the problem, but it obviously helps give the parameters for what the solution has to be. Right.
Yeah. And the problem I find with most people's fact finders is they get into the sales part of it way too quick. In other words, they're trying to sell something before they even know what the problem is.
Right.
And that's why I don't like the sales part of it. You're literally trying to find out what is their circumstance. I mean, it's kind of like dating, right? Dating, you're going to find out, hey, what's your likes, your dislikes? What are your dreams? What are your hopes? And then you can sell yourself. Sure. You can say, well, I just happen to be one of those guys that can cover those spots. That's why I've been married for 28 years.
That's right. Well, it's funny you mention kind of getting into the sales part because too quickly.
First of all, the problem is they get into a sales part.
Well, that's fair. And they're trying to just close a deal rather than figure out what's the problem and how to solve it. Do you structure the way that you order the questions in your fact finder? Do you structure that in a way to, like, okay, if we're getting to know each other, I need to know basic information about you. Inevitably, basic information is far less invasive than, hey, what's in your IRA, right?
Yeah, the thing though, pretty much every question I ask could be considered awkward.
Okay.
How old are you?
Yeah.
We're from the South, man. We don't.
We don't say that.
We don't talk about that kind of stuff.
You don't ask to come over, and you don't ask our age or our weight.
Unless you say, hey, you're talking to them on the phone, and they say they're a good cook, and you say, well, how heavy are you? I mean, if they're skinny, they can't be that good of a cook.
That's fair,
but
especially down here when everything's fried.
How do we get on these tangents?
That's you.
Probably true.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just kidding.
Okay.
Oh,
but no, every question could be considered as awkward.
Sure.
But once again, when you go to the doctor, every stinking question they're asking is awkward.
Sure.
You know? Like when you had that big lump checked out on your neck, it's like the one that was kind of oozing and everything.
No, that's terrible. You're going to make somebody throw up. They're driving around listening to this, Chad.
I'm sorry. This is a bad day to do a podcast because I'm ornery. It's rainy outside. We're only a week away from going to the Big Island, and I am out of town for 21 days.
Yep. So, big trip.
Yes, big trip.
Big relaxation.
Trip. Well, we get to take our entire team. Once again, we talk about fact finders, things like that. Mm-hmm. One of the things I love doing with my team is we all get to go. What do we have? We have 24 people that are going. 2 babies. We have 22 people and 2 babies going with us. And I'm just so excited because I get to really hang out with the people I live life with and do life with. So, yeah, that's a whole side note. But anyway, back to the fact finder.
Yeah, no, and that's kind of where my mind was going, was down the idea of, okay, inevitably, certain questions, are going to be considered perhaps by the client as a little bit more invasive. Now, I do know...
Yeah, most clients, and I hear that, but
Sure.
Most clients... I had one guy that, this is the beauty of using me because literally I can tell you real life circumstances. Right. I met with a guy that actually had a ton of money. You could tell just by his tone he had a ton of money.
Yeah.
And I did an illustration for $1 million.
Okay.
Well, I went out there. He has a lot more than $1 million.
Okay.
And, he did say once again, because he wouldn't tell me, he goes, I have $1 million I want to use for an annuity. Well, how much do you have to say? I have plenty. And so I'm like, okay. I still don't think I got one of the very few appointments I ever went on where I don't think I still got all the information. Mm-hmm. But I know he's probably worth at least 12 or 13 million.
Wow. Okay.
I have a gut feeling he's probably worth more than 20, if not more than that. Wow. This is one of the few guys that I've ran into where he may be worth, way above 25 million. Okay. I don't know. I mean, you couldn't tell by his house. But the way he carried himself, the way he was answering questions, I'm like, this is not a rookie right here. This guy is one of those good old boys. He knows what he's talking about. He's testing you. Mm-hmm. And so, if you're going to be the guy that wrangles my cows, you better know what you're doing. Yeah. And that's how I felt. I felt like I was being interviewed.
That's interesting.
But I was still able to get all the questions I needed answered.
Right.
And he loves what we were talking about. Hopefully, we're meeting again. Hopefully everything goes well. But the reality is I didn't care what the awkward question was. Excuse me. I had a job.
Yeah.
And that's all it came down to. And if at some point he would have said, hey, I got $1 million. I want to put $1 million into an annuity.
Doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't. No, I need to make sure you have plenty of emergency funds, savings, liquid accounts, other accounts. I need to make sure. I will walk away from $1 million deal and not even think twice about it if you don't want to share all your information with me, because that's my job.
Yeah.
How can I tell you I'm trying to find a problem, find a solution, but I don't even know what the problem is. I don't even know if there's a problem. But if you tell me you have $1 million to put in an annuity, excuse me, you have $1 million to put into an annuity, but you're not going to tell me where your other funds are, then I'm not doing it.
Right. Yeah. Well, and that's so good. And what that does in a client's mind is insane, because your trust just went through the roof because they can see clear as day you're not after a sale.
Oh, man, yesterday. Yesterday, the lady goes, this was another big deal.
Right.
I had a really good week with some big deals. She goes, why can't we just do this right now? And he said, oh, no. I want him to be able to take this book. I want him to read through it. I want him to come up with the questions.
Right.
I mean, I had to do that right there because I knew he wasn't ready.
Right.
She was ready to sign on the dotted line right there. And you could tell he looks at her, then he looks back at me, and he's like, if I would have went for the deal right there, even though I knew what I had was the best for their situation,
right,
I would have lost him.
Sure.
Because he would have known I was there for what? A sale. I wasn't. I was trying to find a solution to the problem, making sure he was comfortable enough and understood how it works.
Right. Well, I think that a lot of agents don't realize that these people that have invested money with an advisor or with a broker or somebody that's doing that side of the business, the risk side of the business, those guys are often trained to tell their clients that this insurance guy, he can only sell you this thing. So of course,
and by the way, it has a cap of 3%.
Right? Yeah. Well, sometimes they'll throw out those other things
all the time.
But they're trained to tell their clients that this is what an agent is going to come in there and try and do. They're going to come in with their product that the only thing they can sell is this safe money thing.
Oh, poor
right?
you.
Yeah, and they're going to come in and they're going to try to sell it to you. So if that's their mindset and you go in and you're trying to get a sale, you're proving to your client that that is exactly what you're doing. But then when you go in and it's all about education, it's all about figuring out the problem, it's all about solving the problem, and the fact finder helps communicate that.
For sure.
And then you have those types of things where somebody says, yeah, let's do this, and the other you can tell is not quite ready, and you walk away.
I've had people where, they've known of me for a while. Because if you Google Chad Owen Annuities, Chad Owen Safe Money, Chad Owen Retirement, I'm all over the place. But I'll show up and their statements are laid all out. And they're just, I want to do it. And my first response is, you want to do what? Well, whatever you're going to tell me to do.
How do you
said, what am I going to tell you to do? And they go, well, whatever I heard you talk about. I'm like, okay. I still go through the full fact finder. Right. I still go through the full explanation. I was just training agents right before this. I said, no matter if they're ready right that second, you still go through the full fact finder, you still go through the full product explanation, and you still make sure that's the best thing for them.
So good.
Yep.
That's so good.
So good. Well, I hope this helps you. Once again, guys, it's not about the sale.
It's
about helping a client with their retirement, giving them a safe and secure future. So I hope this helps you. You have a great day and happy selling.